blog at Alexa Loves Books, and today we are celebrating the Something Strange and Deadly series by Susan Dennard. As you can see, the book's right here. This is the first book in the series. It's actually out in paperback now, and it is called Something Strange and Deadly, clearly. It's so good. I don't know why I only read it this year when it came out last year, but it's really good.
And here is the second book in the series, which is out today, and it's called A Darkness Strange and Lovely. We've both read it already, and it takes place in Paris, and we both absolutely love it.
It's so good.
Yeah, so good.
Today, Susan was kind enough to actually agree to do an interview with us. And it's going to be a bunch of different questions about writing, about the series, and other fun stuff. So let's get started.
Hi, I am Susan Dennard, the author of Something Strange and Deadly, which came out last summer from Harper Teen. And I'm also the author of the upcoming sequel, A Darkness Strange and Lovely, which will be out in just a few weeks. To start, I would like to say thank you to Alexa and Rachel for hosting me. It's very generous and awesome of them, and they're very generous and awesome people.
The first question, what's the best writing advice you've ever received, and what's the worst?
Best writing advice that I ever received wasn't actually writing advice per se, but sort of inspirational advice from my dad, who told me to not stay isolated. He is a photographer, and that's sort of his artistic expression, and so he really identifies with me and my need to write creatively. And so he told me a few years ago when I first set out to get published that I should really reach out to other writers, because staying isolated is great at first, and it can be scary to reach out to other people, but that sense of community really, really will help me. He said it would really help me on my journey, and he was right. Eventually I found Let the Words Flow and became best friends with the girls on there, and that's how I met my very best friend, Sarah Mass. And without my writer friends like Sarah and Erin Bowman and Kat Zhang, who I just did the Young Authors Get Back tour with, without people like that, I would lose my mind. Writing can be very isolating, but it can also be such a wonderful community, and having other authors to talk to is invaluable. As for the worst advice that I ever got, well, again, I wouldn't really call it advice so much as someone essentially said in nicer terms that I had no chance of getting published. I had entered a contest a few months before I started querying Something Strange and Deadly, and fortunately for me, the contest results did not come back until after I already had a book deal. And they basically said in the contest notes, this is terrible, nicer. They said it more nicely, the judges, but I got last place, and they said that it wasn't very good, and I needed a lot of work, and it wasn't probably publishable. Well, bam, in your face. Good thing I got that information after I already had a book deal, otherwise it probably would have crushed my soul.
Do you have a particular method when you write, or any writing quirks?
Well, I definitely need coffee. Already on cup number 2 for the day. That is like a must. I also like to have my dogs around, but they've abandoned me right now. And I listen to music really, 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 really loud. That's kind of my approach. Also, maybe it's a quirk or a method, but for every single book that I write, I have a folder, a notebook, this sort of whatever you call these. Yeah, college rule notebooks for every single book, sometimes more than one for a book. And in it, I just, write notes, figure out scenes, brainstorm. Whenever I'm stuck, I just, write down things that are keeping me stuck. I plan out scenes, bit by bit. If I have ideas, they go in these notebooks, and that is basically how I keep my brain organized when I'm drafting.
So what usually comes to you first when you start a story? The setting, the character, or the plot?
Oftentimes, actually always, it's character, and usually along with that character will be the setting. So it could be just a name. It could be a simple idea like for my current work in progress, my whip, I thought of this word Thread Witch, and from that word Thread Witch came an entire universe and an entire cast of characters. And so Something Strange and Deadly started with Eleanor and the Spirit Hunters. Those characters came first, and with them came kind of the basics of who they were and the world that they lived in. Usually I start with that, and then I have to figure out what is it that these people desperately want and what sort of events happen that actually shape the plot and tell their story. That can take a while to figure out, yeah.
At what point in your drafting do you work with a critique partner or beta readers? So tell us a little bit about that kind of relationship.
So, as I think it's pretty well known, Sarah JMS is my main critique partner. We work with each other on basically everything that we write, and we even co-author stuff together. She is the Miss Piggy to my Kermit the Frog. And I turn to her usually after I have a first draft that's been revised once. And she reads for big issues like plot holes, character inconsistencies, stuff like that. And that's really it. At this point, I don't really use a critique partner for like line edit type of stuff because that happens with my actual editor. So I turn to my critique partners for big issues. Lately, Sarah has turned into an almost alpha reader for me, so I will send her something right after I've written it. First draft, totally horrible, scene by scene, and this has actually been really helpful for me with my latest work in progress, the Thread Witch story, because it sort of holds me accountable. I know that she's waiting to read the next scene, and so I will make myself write the next scene that day, and then also because I know she likes the story and she's an excellent cheerleader, it keeps me enthusiastic and feeling good about the stories so that I keep writing.
Just saying, guys. Anyway, now it's time for the fun stuff. Susan also agreed to tell us 5 random facts about herself.
And 5 favorite things about herself.
And now, 5 random facts about Susan.
Hi, I'm back. It's a different day, and my office maybe looks a little different because there's some boxes and stuff. I'm wearing a different shirt. Another Jurassic Park shirt because I am clearly really obsessed with that movie and own a lot of Jurassic Park shirts. Yeah, I forgot to do the 5 things, random facts about me that Alexa and Rachel asked I contribute to this interview, and I totally forgot. So here I am a few days later in the same place, looking kind of the same. So, let's try this. Coming up with 5 things about myself was like really hard because everyone already knows everything about me, pretty much. I'm kind of like, I don't know, I guess I talk too much about myself already. So I tried to think about 5 things that maybe the average online person wouldn't know. 1, I have 4 pets. There's a cat. I have another cat somewhere. I have this dog, Asimov. Named Asimov after the famous science fiction novelist Isaac Asimov. This is Leia, Princess Leia, named after the famous Star Wars princess. And then I have another cat, yeah. So 2 cats and 2 dogs. Number 2. I used to play golf on my high school golf team. There were only 3 girls that played golf on the team, and yeah, we were pretty good. Rather, they were really good. I was really bad. But they were really good. Yeah. 3. This is one that Sarah J. Mass always makes fun of me for. I like birds. I like to go birding. It's not like something that I, devote a day to or a weekend to, but when I'm outside, I like to listen to bird calls and spot birds, and I can recognize them by their calls and by, of course, what their plumage is. So yes, I like birds and I like birding. I enjoy video games. I I don't get to play as much now as I would like, as I used to play. But I really like games that have stories, like Assassin's Creed has a good story. The Legend of Zelda, obsessed with those games. Fable, I really like those games too. So like RPG style games, but also games with really vibrant stories. That was 4 things, I think. 5. I'm not a very interesting person. Clearly I'm not a very interesting person because I cannot come up with 5 things. I used to be really into the band Muse, and I used to like follow them around on tours. Not like far, but they would come into Georgia, let's say, where I was going to university, and they would be within a 4 or 5 hour driving distance, you know, for like a week straight, because they too weren't famous enough to fly. They would just be on a tour bus. So, I would go to like 5 shows in a row, and they were playing these really dingy basements, not very like nice venues at all. And one time, before they were going to perform, the drummer, Dom, was standing on a staircase watching the opening act play from, it was like an Atlanta, a little Atlanta club, and he was watching the opening act, some local Atlanta band play, and I realized who he was, and me being me, I had to say something, so I like cornered him and was like, hi, I'm a huge fan, I love your music, I've been listening to you for years, and you've just inspired me so much. And because I was like such a fangirl, I gave them a poster that I had made that was very psychedelic and crazy, that was inspired by their music, and I gave it to him, and he was probably like, I remember him standing on the stairs and just staring at me like, why is this girl speaking to me? This is terrifying. Like 5 minutes into the show, the lead singer, Matt Bellamy, he was getting a little too crazy with his guitar, and he smashed his face in on his own guitar, split his lip all the way down, and had to go to the hospital. So we only got to see 3 songs, 2.5, before the show was canceled. So I like to think that while he was in the Atlanta hospital, he saw the poster that I made them and will forever remember me, or not, because he was probably on drugs after that, but whatever. I met Dom from Muse, and I gave him a poster. That's my 5th random fact about me.
Thanks for watching our interview, guys. If you haven't read the series yet, I highly suggest you get the first book, because it's out in paperback now.
And the second book.
Yes. Basically, the reason you should get this book is because the story is fantastic.
Yeah.
Main character, Eleanor, is so kick-ass.
She is.
Especially in the second book.
Especially in the second book.
And of course there's Daniel. I don't think there's any explanation needed there.
Except that we love him.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And have laid claim to him, and Susan already knows that, so works out for you and for me. But guys, thank you so much for joining us for our Something Strange and Deadly celebration to celebrate the release of Susan's second book. If you missed yesterday's posts, A Day in Philly, that's on my blog, and A Day in Paris, that's on Rachel's blog, you can check them out in the links below, and we'll also have links for Susan's books and Susan's website. Thank you so much, Susan, for doing the interview, and we are so excited for you for the release of Darkness Strange.